Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your friend, a voice that believes in courage, hope, and the beauty of rising after every fall. I'm inspired by the incredible Muniba Mazari, and through my channel Voice of Victory. I aim to share words that heal, uplift, and awaken the strength within you. If my message touches your heart, if it reminds you to believe in yourself and keep moving forward no matter what, then please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Voice of Victory. Together, let's build a community where every voice matters, every story inspires, and every soul learns to grow with grace and gratitude. Your victory begins with one click. Join the journey today. Silence is not emptiness, it's strength. In a world that glorifies noise, where everyone is racing to speak, to prove, to be heard, there lies a sacred power in the art of being still. You see, silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of clarity. It is where you begin to meet the real version of yourself. The version that doesn't need validation, doesn't need to shout to be seen, doesn't need to win arguments to feel worthy. Silence teaches you the kind of strength that cannot be shaken by the chaos around you, because it comes from the calm within you. There was a time in my life when I thought speaking louder meant being stronger. I believed that if I kept explaining myself, the world would finally understand me. But life has a strange way of teaching us that true understanding doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being aware. It's when you stop chasing approval and start listening to your own soul that you realize how powerful silence really is. Because silence speaks. It speaks in ways words never can. It tells you where to stay, where to go, and when to let go. Silence has a rhythm. It's the rhythm of growth, of patience, of surrender. It's that quiet moment before the sun rises when the world is still sleeping. But nature is preparing for another day of miracles. The same way, when you choose silence, you are preparing your inner world for transformation. You are letting your soul rest from the weight of expectations, from the noise of opinions, and from the pain of misunderstanding. Because growth never happens in chaos, it happens in calm. You grow not when you react, but when you reflect. When people hurt you, silence gives you the space to understand that their words don't define you. When life tests you, silence allows you to process your pain before you respond to it. And when the world doubts you, silence becomes your strongest reply, not because you have nothing to say, but because you know your actions will say it better. You begin to realize that silence isn't about suppressing your voice, it's about mastering it. It's choosing peace over proving, growth over gossip, and understanding over argument. Sometimes silence feels heavy. It feels lonely. You might think it's weakness, but it's not. It's a sign that you're healing. Because when you grow in silence, you distance yourself from the noise that once defined your worth. You stop seeking applause for your effort and start finding meaning in your progress. You stop explaining why you are different and start embracing that difference with quiet confidence. The loudest transformation is the one no one hears, the one that happens inside you, one quiet realization at a time. There will be moments when silence will test you. People may mistake your quietness for indifference. They might call you distant, cold, or detached. But remember, you are not responsible for their interpretation. You are responsible for your peace. You are not being silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you have learned not everything deserves your energy. That's maturity, that's strength. The real strength lies in not reacting to every provocation, in not explaining every decision, in not defending your every move. It lies in trusting that time will reveal what words cannot. Silence allows you to reconnect with yourself. It's in the quiet moments when you finally hear your inner voice saying, "You are enough." It's in those pauses between chaos when you realize how far you've come, even when no one noticed. It's in those still hours when you discover that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of purpose. Silence becomes your teacher, teaching you patience when you want to rush, grace when you want to react, and wisdom when you want to quit. You begin to appreciate how silence protects you. It guards your dreams from premature exposure. It shelters your emotions until they are ready to be understood. It gives your pain a safe space to turn into strength. Silence is not a cage, it's a cocoon. It's where you transform quietly, away from judgment, away from noise, and away from pressure. And when you finally emerge, you no longer need to tell the world you've changed. They'll see it in your peace, your posture, and your presence. So, when life gets loud, choose silence. When people doubt you, choose silence. When your heart is tired of explaining, choose silence. Because silence isn't giving up, it's growing up. It's choosing your growth over their approval. It's realizing that your voice has power, but your silence has purpose. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the seasons you grew in silence were the seasons that built you into who you were always meant to be. Because the most powerful souls are not the ones who speak the most, but the ones who have learned to listen to their hearts, to their pain, and to their purpose. So grow in silence, because in silence you'll find everything that noise could never give you. The most beautiful transformations happen in private. The world we live in today loves exposure. Every achievement is posted, every thought is shared, every step is broadcasted. But growth, real growth, doesn't happen under the spotlight. It happens when no one is watching. It happens in those quiet moments when you're sitting alone with your fears, your doubts, your heartbreaks, and still choosing to rise again. Just like a seed breaks beneath the soil before it becomes a flower, your growth begins in darkness, long before the world sees your light. You don't need to announce every step of your journey to prove you're moving forward. Sometimes the most sacred parts of your story deserve protection, not publicity. When you're becoming something greater, you owe it to yourself to nurture that process quietly. Because every time you grow in silence, you are giving yourself the gift of authenticity, the freedom to fall, to rise, to fail, and to begin again without fear of judgment. The world only sees results, but what shapes you is the process, and that process doesn't need an audience. The truth is, people love to celebrate your victories, but not everyone will understand your struggles. That's why some of your biggest leaps in life must be taken in private. When you're healing, don't rush to explain your pain. When you're learning, don't rush to prove your wisdom. When you're changing, don't rush to show your progress. Protect your transformation the way nature protects a butterfly inside its cocoon, quietly, tenderly, patiently. The butterfly doesn't fight the darkness. It embraces it because it knows that darkness is a part of becoming something beautiful. We live in a world that measures success by visibility, but the truth is, visibility doesn't equal value. Some of the most valuable moments of your life will never make it to social media, never be captured by a camera, and never be celebrated by the crowd. But those moments, the silent tears, the small victories, the private prayers, they are what build your character. They are what make you who you are. So don't let the noise of the world make you believe that unseen means unworthy. Hidden growth is still growth. Sometimes you will feel like you are stuck. You will feel like nothing is moving, like no one notices your effort. But I promise, something is happening within you. Just because others can't see your transformation doesn't mean it's not real. Remember, the roots grow deep before the tree reaches high. Your time in the dark is not a delay, it's preparation. You are becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you've ever been. And when the time is right, you will bloom effortlessly, not because you forced it, but because you allowed the process to shape you quietly. Privacy is power. When you keep parts of your journey to yourself, you protect your peace. You protect your energy from unnecessary opinions. You give yourself space to grow without pressure. Not everyone needs to know what you're building, what you're dreaming, or what you're healing from. Some things are too sacred to share before they are complete. Let your silence be your sanctuary, not your prison. When you protect your transformation, you protect your power. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to be seen to be significant. You stop seeking applause for your pain. You stop chasing validation for your effort. You begin to understand that real success is not about being noticed. It's about being fulfilled. You can be growing, healing, and becoming your best self, and no one has to know, and that's okay. Your worth doesn't depend on witnesses. It depends on your willingness to keep going, even when no one claps for you. The most beautiful souls I've met are the ones who have been through storms in silence. They didn't scream for attention. They didn't beg for understanding. They simply kept going, quietly turning their pain into power. When they finally emerged, the world saw only their glow, not the nights they cried, not the fears they faced, not the prayers they whispered when no one was listening. That's the beauty of growing in private. The world will see the masterpiece, but never the mess it took to create it. So, don't be afraid to disappear for a while. Don't be afraid to step back from the noise. Let your silence become the soil that nourishes your next chapter. Because when you grow in private, you rise in power. You come back not seeking validation, but radiating peace. The world doesn't need to witness every step. It just needs to see the strength that your silence built. And when you finally bloom, let your presence speak for itself, because the most powerful growth is not the one you announce, but the one that quietly transforms you from within. Heal without announcing your pain. We live in a world where every emotion is displayed, where every scar is shared, and every tear becomes a story for others to witness. But healing, real, deep, sacred healing, doesn't need an audience. It needs silence, patience, and trust. You don't have to tell the world how much it hurts to prove that you're in pain. You don't have to show your wounds to validate your suffering. Some things are meant to be felt, not shown. Some lessons are meant to be learned quietly, not performed loudly. Healing is one of them. When life breaks you, it's natural to want others to understand, to feel your pain, to offer comfort. But sometimes the strength you need is not in being understood. It's in learning to understand yourself. There's a beauty in sitting with your pain, holding it gently, and whispering to yourself, "I will heal, even if no one sees this process." You see, the world often praises resilience, but few understand the quiet war that happens behind closed doors. The nights you spend holding your heart together, the mornings you wake up with swollen eyes but still choose to smile, that is where healing truly happens, not in the noise but in the silence. When you decide to heal without announcing it, you reclaim your power, because pain, when shared too soon, invites opinions. It invites judgment, it invites noise that can disturb your peace. But when you keep your healing sacred, you protect your energy. You stop giving people the power to define your story. You stop explaining your scars and start embracing them as proof of your survival. Not everyone deserves to witness your recovery, because not everyone would understand the depth of what broke you. Healing is not about pretending you're okay. It's about learning to be gentle with yourself while you're not. It's about giving yourself permission to rest, to feel, to breathe. Some days you'll be strong enough to smile, and some days you'll only have the strength to cry. Both are okay. Healing isn't linear. It's not a straight road where every day gets easier. Some days you'll feel like you've moved on, and then suddenly the memories return, the pain reopens, and you're back where you started. But even then, you are healing because every time you fall and still choose to stand, you are growing stronger in ways no one can see. Don't be afraid to walk through your pain in silence. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're distant, quiet, or different. Sometimes silence is your medicine. It's the way your soul detoxes from chaos. When you choose to heal privately, you allow your heart to breathe without pressure. You give yourself the freedom to be honest, not for others, but for yourself. You stop performing strength and start embodying it. Because strength isn't in never breaking down, it's in breaking quietly and still believing in light after darkness. The most powerful people are not those who never got hurt. They are the ones who got hurt deeply and still chose to rise without bitterness. They turned their pain into wisdom, their heartbreak into purpose, and they didn't need the world to clap for their recovery. They healed in silence, and when they returned, they carried a calmness that words couldn't explain. That's the kind of healing that changes, leaves the one that happens away from the crowd. Sometimes, the people who smile the most are the ones who have cried the hardest. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's strength, it's peace. It's a quiet declaration that says, I no longer need the world to know my wounds to know my worth. Healing in silence teaches you independence, emotional independence. You learn that peace doesn't come from others comforting you, it comes from you comforting yourself. You learn that closure doesn't always come from the person who hurt you. It comes from accepting that you deserve peace more than you deserve answers. And when you finally reach that place where your pain no longer controls you, you'll realize that you didn't heal by shouting about your hurt. You healed by choosing peace over pity. You stopped chasing sympathy and started building strength. You stopped needing to be understood and started understanding yourself. That's when true healing happens, when your scars become symbols of strength, not reminders of suffering. So, don't rush to prove your healing. Don't share every tear, every thought, every emotion with the world. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Let your progress be your proof. Because one day, the same silence that once felt heavy will become the peace you prayed for. You'll look back and realize that the season you healed in private was the season that saved your soul. And when you rise, because you will rise quietly, let your peace make the noise your pain once did. Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access. One of the most powerful lessons life teaches us is that peace is precious, and not everyone around you will honor it. We often give our time, our emotions, and our hearts too easily, believing that kindness means availability. But the truth is, kindness doesn't mean allowing people to drain your soul. You can have a gentle heart and still protect your space. You can love deeply and still walk away from what disturbs your peace. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's an act of self-respect. There comes a point in your life when you realize not everyone is meant to walk with you on your journey. Some people come to teach you lessons, not to stay forever. Some relationships are beautiful, but temporary. Some friendships start as light and end as lessons, and that's okay. Growth requires pruning, letting go of what no longer serves your purpose. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. You cannot keep watering connections that make your soul thirsty. When you protect your energy, you are simply choosing peace over pressure and clarity over confusion. You begin to see that not every conversation deserves your reply, not every opinion deserves your defense, and not every invitation deserves your presence. Maturity teaches you the art of walking away gracefully. You no longer fight to be understood. You learn to be at peace with being misunderstood. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Because your worth isn't found in convincing others, it's found in knowing who you are, even when no one claps for you. Protecting your energy means knowing that silence can be stronger than words and distance can speak louder than confrontation. Sometimes, the people you love the most are the ones who exhaust you emotionally. You keep giving, they keep taking, and slowly, your light begins to dim. That's when you must remind yourself love without boundaries is self-destruction. You can love them and still choose space. You can care for them and still say no. You can forgive them and still not let them close again. Protecting your energy means knowing the difference between being kind and being used, between being helpful and being drained. You don't owe anyone access to the parts of you they keep breaking. When you start setting boundaries, people will call you distant, cold, or changed. But remember, protecting your peace will always offend those who benefited from your chaos. Don't let guilt trick you into returning to the same places that broke your spirit. You are not responsible for fixing others at the cost of losing yourself. You are allowed to choose rest over proving, solitude over stress, and peace over pleasing. Because the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. The moment you stop letting everyone sip from your energy, you begin to refill it with purpose, gratitude, and calm. Protecting your energy also means being mindful of what you consume. Not just food, but words, thoughts, and environments. Pay attention to the spaces you walk into. Some lift your spirit, others drain it. Be careful about who you allow to speak into your life. Not every advice comes from wisdom, and not every listener has pure intentions. Learn to read energy, not just words. When something feels heavy, it usually is. When someone constantly brings chaos, distance yourself without explanation. The peace you protect today will become the strength you need tomorrow. When you protect your energy, you begin to see life differently. You stop chasing what's not meant for you. You stop explaining why you need rest. You stop entertaining unnecessary drama. You begin to enjoy the beauty of your own company, the quiet mornings, the deep breaths, the small moments that remind you how peaceful life can be when it's free of toxic noise. And suddenly, you start attracting people who match your peace, not your pain. You meet souls who value your silence, who respect your boundaries, who understand your need for space. That's what happens when you guard your energy. You create space for better energy to find you. Remember, you are not here to be available for everyone. You are not a healing station for broken souls who refuse to fix themselves. You are not responsible for carrying the emotional weight of people who choose not to grow. You are here to protect your peace, to nurture your soul, and to walk your journey with grace. The world may not always understand your silence, your distance, or your boundaries, but you're not living for understanding, you're living for peace. So if you must walk away, do it with love. If you must say no, do it with calm. If you must be silent, do it with strength. Protect your energy, because once your peace is gone, everything else loses meaning. And when you finally learn to guard your heart and your space, you'll realize that peace was never outside. It was always within you, waiting for you to protect it. Let your actions speak louder than your announcements. In a time where everyone wants to be seen, where every small step is shared and every achievement is broadcasted, there is something profoundly powerful about quiet effort. You don't have to announce your dreams for them to be real. You don't have to declare your goals for them to matter. Real progress doesn't need validation, it needs consistency. The most powerful people are not those who talk about what they're going to do. They're the ones who quietly work until the results speak for themselves. When you begin to grow in silence, you realize that noise doesn't create impact, action does. You don't need to convince the world of your potential. You don't need to prove your worth through words. Every time you choose to focus on your actions instead of opinions, you are building something unshakable, credibility. Because words can be doubted, but results cannot. The tree doesn't announce its roots before growing. It just grows slowly and silently until one day everyone notices its shade. That's the beauty of silent progress. It doesn't beg for attention, yet it commands respect. It's easy to talk about change, but it takes courage to become it. You might feel invisible at times while you're working in silence, but remember, invisibility is not the absence of progress. It's the foundation of it. Every step you take quietly is preparing you for the moment when your growth becomes undeniable. Don't rush to be seen. The world will notice when you're ready. What truly matters is not how loudly you start, but how gracefully you finish. There is peace in not needing to prove anything. When you stop explaining and start doing, you reclaim your energy. You redirect all that noise into focus. Instead of wasting time convincing people of your worth, you begin to live it. Instead of posting your dreams, you're building them. Instead of defending your path, you're walking it. And one day, when you reach where you're meant to be, the same people who doubted your silence will be the ones inspired by your strength. That's how actions speak, not through volume, but through value. Sometimes people won't understand why you're quiet. They'll think you've given up, when in truth, you're simply growing. They'll think you've stopped caring, when in reality, you're just channeling your energy into things that actually matter. Growth looks like stillness to those who measure life by motion. Don't let that fool you. Keep going. Your silence is not a lack of activity. It's a sign of maturity. You're learning to build without applause and to believe without constant reassurance. That's how transformation truly happens when you no longer seek recognition, only purpose. There's a certain calmness that comes from knowing you're doing the work even when no one notices. You stop chasing validation because you finally understand that greatness doesn't need an audience. It just needs patience. Every small act of discipline, every choice to stay consistent, every time you rise after failing, those are the invisible moments that create visible results. The world often applauds the outcome, but it's the unseen effort that truly defines your character. So keep going, even when no one is clapping, because the moment you stop seeking attention for your effort becomes art. Let your growth surprise people. Let your success speak for itself. You don't need to declare your intentions, you need to live them. There's beauty in letting your actions narrate your story. A quiet soul with unstoppable drive, that's power. That's peace. You see, words can inspire, but only actions transform. When you silently build something meaningful, your energy begins to shift. You attract people who respect your dedication, not your drama. You attract opportunities that align with your purpose, not your popularity. That's the reward of silent effort. It creates lasting impact without losing authenticity. And yes, there will be moments of doubt, moments when you wonder if silence is enough. But remember, every great creation took time and patience in the dark before it saw the light. Just because no one sees your work doesn't mean it's not working. The world doesn't need your declarations, it needs your dedication. Don't tell them who you are becoming, let them witness it when you arrive. So, stop trying to be heard. Start trying to be remembered, not for what you said, but for what you did. Let your work echo louder than your words. Let your consistency speak when you're silent. Let your growth make the noise your ego once did. And when your time comes, you won't need to say, "I made it." The world will already know, because actions, when rooted in purpose, will always speak the loudest. Silence is where you meet yourself. In the rush of life, in the constant noise of opinions, judgments, and expectations, we often lose connection with who we truly are. We spend so much time trying to be seen, trying to be understood, trying to fit in, that we forget the most sacred relationship we'll ever have, the one with ourselves. Silence is not loneliness. It's a homecoming. It's where you stop running from your thoughts and start listening to them. It's where you sit with your pain long enough to understand it, not escape it. It's where the noise fades and your truth begins to whisper. We are surrounded by distractions that keep us from facing ourselves. The phone, the screen, the endless chase for approval, they keep us busy but not fulfilled. Yet, when you step away from the noise and allow yourself to sit in silence, you begin to see what truly matters. You begin to see the parts of you that need love, forgiveness, and acceptance. You begin to understand that peace isn't found in others understanding you. It's found in you understanding yourself. Silence becomes the mirror where you see both your wounds and your wisdom. At first, silence feels uncomfortable. It feels empty, almost frightening. Because in silence, you can't hide behind distractions, you come face to face with your fears, your insecurities, and your regrets. But that's where healing begins. You can't heal what you keep avoiding. You can't grow if you're afraid to sit with your own truth. In the stillness of silence, your soul begins to speak. It tells you what you need to let go of, what you need to forgive, what you need to believe in again. That inner voice, the one that gets lost in the noise of the world, that is your guide. Listen to it. It knows the way. When you allow yourself to grow in silence, you discover that solitude isn't emptiness, it's sacred space. It's where clarity blooms. It's where you start realizing that your worth doesn't depend on being liked, noticed, or validated. You begin to see how strong you are, not because the world applauds you, but because you've learned to stand even when no one is watching. Silence teaches you to value peace over popularity, authenticity over approval. It teaches you that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. In silence, you start recognizing how much noise you've been carrying inside. The voices that told you you're not enough, the doubts that said you'd fail, the fears that said you can't begin again. Slowly, you begin to separate your voice from those voices. You begin to find your rhythm again. You realize that growth is not about shouting louder, but about listening deeper. You learn that being still doesn't mean being stuck. It means allowing things to align instead of forcing them to happen. Silence doesn't delay your destiny, it prepares you for it. You see, when you truly meet yourself in silence, you stop begging for love that doesn't honor you. You stop chasing validation that keeps you small. You stop explaining your worth to people who were never meant to understand it. You begin to move differently, softer, wiser, calmer. You start walking through life with grace, knowing that peace is your compass and faith is your foundation. You no longer need to prove who you are, you simply live it. Silence shapes you into someone unshakable, someone whose strength is rooted in stillness, not noise. And one day, as you look back, you'll realize that the seasons of silence were not punishments, they were preparation. You weren't losing yourself, you were meeting yourself. You were learning to hear your own heart again after years of listening to everyone else's. You were learning that solitude doesn't isolate you, it refines you. It strips away the noise until all that's left is your essence, raw, real, and radiant. That is the gift of silence. So, take time to be still. Take time to be quiet. Sit with your thoughts, your feelings, and your truth. The world may call it loneliness, but your soul will call it peace. Don't fear the silence, embrace it. Because silence is not an absence, it's a presence, the presence of your truest self. It's where your strength is born, where your purpose awakens, and where your spirit finds its way home. And when you finally meet yourself in that sacred silence, you'll understand that you were never lost. You were simply waiting to be found.